Alright, I guess I'll keep talking just in case anyone looks at this after we're done. I'm testing out my live stream software, and while I do that, I'm gonna paint a little bit. I've got my Quasar all primed and ready to go for Armada. And it's alright. Here we go. Quasar's all primed and ready to go, and I've got a couple of squadrons here as well. And then in here, I've got the little side camera set up right now. That will probably be for either dice rolling, or I want to get a webcam that I can put up on the ceiling to get a top-down view of games. Right now, the Quasar is just white. It's just primed. Gonna be painting it like the Star Destroyer and the Architons here. It's kind of my my fleet design. It's gonna be Screaming Skull on the base. I use Genestealer purple for the purple, Mechanicus gray for a lot of the mechanical details, and then a little bit of Lothern blue for engine glow, and that's about it. Can you hear me okay? I do notice there's a big delay between what I'm doing and when it shows up in YouTube, so I'm just being patient. No problem. In the live stream, I don't necessarily intend to paint very often. I'm testing it just to make sure that it's going to be okay for live streaming games, both Legion and Armada. I was saying before, the secondary camera there is just, it's an old webcam that I have. It's not great. And Hair Tinny, okay. That might be just because I'm in a really big room. I also have my 3D printer going on in the back that might be causing some audio issues. But the secondary camera I do want to upgrade so that I can put it up in the ceiling and get top-down views of some battle, some games. Definitely have to watch some of this afterwards just to see what the audio sounds like. It's kind of hard for me to adjust it on the fly. I'm also kind of new to doing this, but thanks for popping in and at least letting me know it's working to an extent. Nice, yeah. I saw the preview for Clan Ren today. I'm very excited for that because I am Rebel only in Legion, and finally a unit with good defense for the Rebels. It's very good, other than Luke or Sabine. Finally got a red dice defense with other defensive capabilities. I think they're going to be fun. Let's see. I'm not even in the camera right here. Let's try and fix that. guess this is a better spot. A little awkward for me, but maybe I'll have to move the camera a little bit. I guess, well, I mean, the first we ever saw of Mandalorians was Boba Fett. And that was way before we had any lore about the Mandalorians. So I guess he was always traditionally a bad guy. And I guess that traditionally made all Mandalorians a bad guy. Plus, Jango was, I guess, a bad guy. Kinda, sorta. He was, I guess he was kind of in between in some senses. I mean, he was a mercenary. But with the Mandalorian coming out, I think we're gonna see more of the good Mandos. Oh, I bet you will. Mandalorians are pretty popular, and it depends where the also where the Mandalorian show, where the lore takes us with that. I think we could very well see several factions getting Mandalorians. And in a sense, I guess Imperials already have a Mandalorian, because they do have Boba. Oh, I guess there's some question in the lore whether he's a true Mandalorian or not. Oh, I'm sure we're gonna get Mandalorians in Armada at some point. I mean, have to wait and get Clone Wars out here, but they're the hotness right now, and I think if it's hot, they'll do stuff. I'm actually hoping that in the Mandalorian and in some of the other streaming shows that they have coming up on Disney Plus, I'm hoping that we're gonna see some more capital ships, especially for the Empire. I mean, in the game we've got a good variety of capital ships for the Empire, but when you think about the original trilogy, there was Star Destroyer 1s and Star Destroyer 2s, but that was only because the bridge changed between A New Hope and Empire. Then we have the odd one, the Tector, or whatever it's called, that showed up in Jedi, but that was also a mistake, because it was just when they built the model, they didn't put the landing bay in the bottom, so that they had to call it some other class of Star Destroyer, and then of course a Super Star Destroyer. That's all we've ever really gotten. We've never seen a small, outside of Rebels and stuff, we've never really seen a live action small or medium Imperial ship. Yeah, that was a big thing for a while. So I guess one thing with the Quasar and the Phoenix Nest, I mean, I think it's possible, and I think for a long time FFG just didn't want to do a dual faction ship, but with Clone Wars coming out, I mean they're gonna have to. Well, they already do. Because they have the Pelta coming, so we're getting dual faction ships now, and now that they're doing that, I think we could see the Phoenix Nest for the Rebels. It may be something where they make it unique so that the Rebels can only fly one Quasar. So it would be like a unique ship card, not just the title. So they would have to have some sort of new mechanic for that. But I definitely think that would be cool. I'm excited to be able to get a few cross-faction ships, and I'm interested to see, and I might do this in a video at some point, how they're going to package things going forward. Things like the Architans, are they going to have two Architans expansions? Are they going to have the original one for the Empire, and they're going to have a new one for Galactic Republic? Or are they going to repackage the Architans and make it a dual faction ship so you get whatever cards you need to play it in both the Empire and for the Galactic Republic? Because in some ways I think that would make sense. Fewer SKUs, stores like fewer SKUs, it's less stuff that they have to manage. It's also good for the manufacturer, less stuff to make. So I'm interested to see how they do that. I guess there's some, people thinking, maybe we're going to get movable parts on it, which I guess is possible because they've gone that route with X-Wing. I really don't care if they do movable parts. That's not something that I would be all that excited about. But I'm guessing it's going to have a different paint scheme at the very least. So we have one ship that came out in 2 expansions, the Star Destroyer, and we got the Chimera paint design for the second one. So there's precedence for using the same sculpt with different paint. So I could see that happen. The other thing that I'm wondering is if the starter kits, if they're going to have any sort of conversion stuff, like for the Architans, will they give you like a ship card and ship token to be able to run an Architans with the Republic? I think that would be nice, saying that, I like to see Architans come back because a lot of people can't get them, but I have 4 of them and I don't really need to buy that many more ships. So if there was a way to just get cards and tokens, I'd appreciate it. Although I'm sure FFG is going to try and get me to buy the ship again. Yeah, and the Rebel one kind of have open wings in the back type of a thing, and I think the idea is that those wings would fold and close into the back section somehow. A couple other people pop in. They didn't say anything though. If you do pop in, just let me know that you can hear everything and what you think about the quality of the stream. I've tried to stream before, quite a while ago, probably over a year ago, and I had limited success. I had a couple that went really well, and I had 1 or 2 that I think, my data rate or something just wasn't high enough, and the stream was all choppy and didn't really work. Not during the Clone Wars, but in Rebels, we did. So I don't know. I mean I'm I'm a movie guy. I didn't the cartoon stuff I didn't follow real well. So I don't know if people are just theorizing that those wings open and close in the back. Or if that's something that has actually been shown or talked about in a novel or something like that. I'm not exactly sure how that goes. Thank you for letting me know. You can hear. So that's good. It seems like it's actually working fairly well. First shot out. Like I was explaining before, I want to get a better secondary camera to get overheads of the gameplay. But right now, because of the pandemic, webcams are sold out everywhere. So I'm just going to go with what I've got for now and upgrade later. If I ever do painting again, I'm going to have to set up a little bit different. It's a little bit awkward for me the way I'm sitting and doing this to try and keep it in the camera. Like I said, you might hear some mechanical noises going on in the background because I've got my 3D printer running, printing something for a friend. All right. One thing about painting the quasar, these hangar bays underneath are just so deep, and then you can't even see them when you're playing. You feel like you have to do them anyways. Yeah, I do. I do a little bit of engine glow on my Imperial fighters. Just a little dot of Lothern blue mostly. That's my go-to color for engine glow. There is a little bit. It's in the movies, the engine glow, because they're twin ion engines. There's two little dots going on in the back, and they are there in the movies. It's not terribly obvious. With FFG, I'm just going to go and grab a set of TIE fighters. They have a single spot for the engines, which is silly because they're twin ion engines. So let's see, I will use this little, whoops. So, of course, I have to hold this there for a while because it comes through the stream like a minute after I actually hold it there, which is why there's a delay between me answering your questions and there I go dropping it. I don't know if you can see that very well, but I have a little dot of blue in that little hole in the back of the TIE fighters. And I do things like that for all of the fighters. I do like the engine glow. Yeah, you don't need much. Armada's kind of it's funny in that, you know, the ships all come with great paint jobs. I mean, FFG I think does a great job with the paint jobs. Same with X-Wing, I guess, even though I don't really play X-Wing. Great job with the paint jobs, and I think that's really makes the entry into the game more palatable for a lot of players that aren't interested in painting. But then you have the squadrons in Armada which aren't painted, which they're tiny enough, I suppose. You know, it's not a big deal. But I do like to paint them. And I always feel like if I'm going to play a game and I don't have enough painted squadrons of a certain type, I've got to paint them before the game. I just think they look so much better painted. As far as the ships, there's no need to paint Armada ships. I just decided I wanted to have a themed Imperial fleet. I've painted a few Rebel ships as well, but similar to the Rebels, there's no cohesive paint scheme. It's just whatever's feeling right on those. And honestly, I've also got some Mel's miniatures for some alternate sculpts of ships. I actually like the Rebel ones way better than the Imperial ones that I've gotten, except for the Gazantes that I have. Other than that, I'm a big fan of the Mel's Miniatures Rebel ships that I've gotten and what they look like painted up. Just making sure I've got this base coat of Screaming Skull done on these three things that I'm working on. Fortunately, using the Citadel paint, it dries relatively quickly, so I don't have to sit around too long waiting for it to dry. Although the second batch, always water down your paints when you're painting. I actually used a little bit too much water on the second batch that I made, so it's going to take it a little bit longer to dry. Always water down your paints. Yeah, I know it is in terms of the TIE fighters, except FFG put these big sockets that look like an engine, so I just filled them in with paint. I know that that's not what we were talking about that before. It's on the sides, little tiny dots, because they're twin ion engines, not single ion engines. Trying to decide how I'm going to do the Quasar in terms of the purple. These other ones I like to do stripes straight lines, but I was considering doing some paneling instead with the purple. So I'm not sure. So I'm just going to give that a second to dry. And might do the Mechanicus gray next to get some details in there. And the Quasar has this, I guess this is the bridge underneath on the nose. It's a completely different bridge area than other Imperial ships. Yeah, absolutely, Pop. Way better to have paint that's too thin than too thick. So I don't know if you guys can tell on the Star Destroyer here. It's one of two Star Destroyers that I did swap out the bridge with Mel's Miniatures ISD-1 bridge, because the ship comes with an ISD-2 bridge, and I like the ISD-1 bridge a lot more. I didn't swap out the bridge on my Chimera just because of the paint. I don't want to have to deal with matching the paint to the Chimera paint. So I think I probably will line this. Just gonna let it dry a little bit more. I've got to get my masking tape. So I'm dropping in a set of Mel's Gazantes that I have. I like the Gazantes a lot. And they look great for comms net Gazantes especially. So I do use this really thin masking tape when I'm doing the lining. Anytime I do that, there's always a little, because of all of the paneling and grooves on the ships, there's always a tiny bit of bleed through. But this works pretty well. And you just have to go back and touch things up where it bled through. Just gonna check the paint on this, see. It's almost dry enough. It's one thing I like about these Citadel paints, they dry fast. What's funny, on this Decimator, it looks extremely wet still. over some scissors or something to cut the tape with. And I do try and do the line on the top and the bottom of the ship. This one's going to be a little bit of a pain with the... I always have to just figure out how wide I want it. Hopefully folks are doing well with the pandemic. I'm bummed because I haven't been able to play at all. I'm almost to the point where I'm going to invite a couple of friends to come over one at a time and play. Game stores around here, so I live in Massachusetts. Massachusetts, you can't play in game stores at all. New Hampshire, which is nearby, you can, but you have to make reservations. And I just don't feel comfortable playing in the game store just yet. Yeah, so those Gazantes, those are Mel's miniatures off of Shapeways. It's one of my favorite of Mel's ships. The whole thing is when you order them, you get the whole thing, and I think they come as a pair. I'm pretty sure when you order them, they come as a pair. He has some other things, like he has a Sea Rock. I have a Sea Rock. I'll go get that. He has a Sea Rock, but you only get that as a single. So that's a Sea Rock there. Hopefully you can see it okay. Sea Rock is fun too because you can play it with either faction. Although, excuse me. Although I think it works better with the Rebels. Excuse me. I went heavy into Mel's miniatures for quite a while, mostly because we weren't getting any ships. We needed something. I don't think we're gonna probably have too much of a problem getting ships, at least for the first two factions, for a little while here. I think that FFG is probably going to keep up with those pretty well at the start to try and get the two factions up to speed with the ones that are already there. It's a little bit different than adding Clone Wars to Legion. Because when they added Clone Wars to Legion itself was still relatively new. Now they pump out expansions way faster for Legion. but even so, the game was new, so adding the factions wasn't a big deal. I mean, Armada's been around for years, and now, in order to catch factions up, you're gonna have to go way faster than the usual pace of Armada expansions in order to catch these factions up. I don't do a ton of highlighting. I mean, I will put a wash on them and dry brush to brighten them up some. But that's about it. I don't go crazy with highlighting. It's not a, for me, it's not an important thing. Yeah, there's going to be a lot of bleed through around the hangar bay of this thing, but that's okay. Just more touch up later. I always mask off the receptacle so that it's clear. So that's all been masked previously before I sprayed them with primer. Thanks for coming. I appreciate it. I probably won't stay live too much longer anyways, because I think we've proven that it should work. anyone's still watching and cares, I'm just trying to paint this stripe onto the quasar. One underneath is going to be a little messy, I think, to start. I have to come back and clean it up quite a bit. Alright, just going to do a little bit more here, and then I'm probably going to shut down the stream. I will probably, maybe I'll do a little wrap up after I paint this and post a video of that. But there's already videos of me painting. Pretty sure there's videos of me painting the ISD and at least one Architens, and I think the Gladiator Star Destroyer and Interdictor as well. I don't know that there's one for the Raider that I did. I don't think so. After I'm done with this paint, I have to let it dry pretty well before I take the tape off. And then I get to see how messy it is. And then I go through by hand and touch up all of the run through and the streaks. Actually, you can see one streak that went all the way under the tape. Not a big deal. It's just kind of part of my process, the way that I do it. There's a lot of touching up and going back and forth at the end until I have the line as clean as I want it. right. Well, thank you for those of you that came by. I'm going to let this dry for a little bit and then finish it up, and I'll be back with more videos this week. Very excited for the rest of the week. Can't wait for some Clone Wars news in a couple of days, and really get theory crafting on new lists, new meta, that kind of stuff. Although I'm not a big meta guy, I just make fleets that I like. But thank you very much for coming.